Hello once again, Latif here, and you're welcome to Code with Laticotech. In this video, we're looking at loops in Python. So we're going to identify what loops are in Python, then we get to identify the types of loops in Python. We'll pick one of the loops, which is the for loop, and then we get to know the syntaxes associated with it. So we'll look at the first syntax, and then we also consider a range syntax with the for loop. Under that one, we'll be looking at the one with the step and the one without the step. We also look at projects under the for loop, and then go on to look at the second syntax under the for loop. So we have the first syntax, we look at how it looks like, and then we'll work some projects. Also under the second syntax, we'll be looking at the projects under that one, and finally we look at the jumping statement. So basically we use this one to either continue a certain print a certain item, or we jump over it, or we stop at that moment. So we can, and that is what we'll be looking at. That is the break and the continue jumping. Now when we say loop, what does that mean? Now in computer programming, loops are handy tools that allow you to repeat instructions. So when you want to repeat instructions within computer programming, you use what we call loop. Now sometimes there may be a need to repeat a set of instructions more than once based on a certain criteria or a certain condition. So this process of you repeating the code is known as loop, or iterations in programming. So a loop is used to repeat a block of code or statement a specific number of times. So let's consider some of the following loops. Now we have two types of loop under Python, the for loop and the while loop. But our focus is going to be on the for loop, so we're going to look at that one. Okay, so what do we mean by the for loop? A for loop in Python is a control flow statement that is used to execute a block of code a fixed number of times. So it's a block of code that we use to repeat, or what you call it, statement a fixed number of times. So it has a limit, it has a start and a limit. It is actually used to repeatedly execute a group of statements as long as the condition is satisfied. So as long as the condition is okay, then it will repeat it. Now you can use for loop to iterate over a string, range, or a sequence. So with a for loop, we can iterate over a string or range or a sequence. Now it uses a counter variable which is incremented by a discrete value. That is a value that is fixed. It's more like it has a start point and an end point, or it's just a fixed value, and it can also be decremented by the same discrete value with repetition of the loop. Alright, so let's look at the syntax. Now this is how the syntax looks like. So with the for loop syntax one, we have the for. You start with the for here, then you come with the counter variable. Then we use this keyword here, in. So we are picking an item within, so in this collection here. Then we end it with, we break it here with a colon, and it follows, a statement follows it there. So this statement is going to work based on the condition set here. Okay, so what do we mean by the counter variable? The counter variable is assigned the first value in the sequence for the statement at the beginning of the loop. Okay, so it is assigned the first value within this collection, okay, for the statement that is going to follow. Now we also have what we call the range function, so we're looking at that one too. The range function is used to create a list containing a sequence of number starting from a start and ending with one less than the stop. So the range is that it has, the name just specifies it. When we talk about range, we're talking about a start point and an end point. But with this for loop, the end point is going to be one less. So if you say 1 to 5, it is going to print 1 to 4, so that is one less. If you say 1 to 10, it's going to print 1 to 9, that is one less than that. So that is what it looks like. Alright, so let's go to our code editor and then try to run some code and see how the for loop works. Alright, let's go to our code editor. Right, so this is our code editor. Let's create a new file. So we're going to right click on this. I've already created my project, and if you don't know how to create a project in PyCharm, you can go back to my previous videos on this series to look at it. So I'm just going to create a file. I'll call this syntax 1. It's called syntax 1. Just give it a name. So let me zoom here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to print a list of items. Okay, so let's say this is the items. We declare a variable, and this is how to declare list. So you can type the list in the code marks. So let's say I have a laptop or desktop, it's a tablet, let's say phone. Right, so I have this list here. Okay, so these are a list of items. So we're going to use the for loop here. So we say for. We start with for item. Now we are picking one item out of the items. So for item in items, we break it here. So remember, this is items, which is a collection list of items here. Now we are saying for only one item. In most cases, we use I for I in items, for I in books, for I in those what do you call it, the variable that you've declared. Okay, so for item in items, that's for one. Let's print the item in C. So we are printing item to see each item that is within the items. Okay, so let's run this. So to run, you click on run again, you select the file that you just created. So we create the syntax 1. So we have laptop, desktop, tablet, phone. So this is the first syntax. Now in this case, we are not using the range here, so we'll come to that point very soon. So you can just run it this way. So item in item, so something like this one. Okay, right. So let's see if we can sort of try to pick some words, keywords, or from each of these things. Okay, we can pick some keywords from each of these things. So to do that, again, I'll just print that one down here. I can use the index. Let me just comment here. Indexing. So I will just use indexing. We did this one. Let me indent this one. I want it to be in line with this. I want to continue the same statement there. I want it to continue from this same. I'm printing. So print item. Then to index, I use this square brackets. So I'm indexing. I want to print the first 3 characters from each item. So remember, when you're indexing, start from 0 to the last number. So we go 0, 1, 2. So we only have lap. In this you have this. This will be tab. This will be full. Let's run this again and see. So you can see here we have item. This one is printed. So we have here we have indexed number 3. So when we come to 0, 1, so 0, 1, 2, that's 3. So the first one So let's say 1 2 0 1 2 3, sorry. So this is the third one here. So we have T, and this is to 0 1 2 3, and we have K, which is here, and here to 0 1 2 3, and that is L. So we have that printed here, and this one too. And also you can get it within a range. Okay, you can get it within a range. What I mean is that it can start from a particular start point to an end point. So I can also run, let me run this one, or let me just put it inside. I can have it done this way. I will start from 0 to the third one. This is what I want to print out. Okay, so let's run this. So it started from 0. So if I indicate only the 3, I was asking it to print only the character at the third index. But if I'm giving it within a range like this, so I'm asking it to print from this to that. So it will print lap, as we can see the LAP. So that will be so from the 0 it goes 0 1 2. And when you are putting in range here, the difference is that in range, the last value, the end value, is not added to it. So it starts from 0 1 2 3. So you have 3 characters printed out. But if you haven't indicated it in range, it goes to that third one and it prints it out. So you can have tab 4 and the rest. This is how to do the index over there as well. And one more thing I just need to add up here before we go into the other parts is that whenever you want to print out, if you realize that they are in a line like this, in a column form like this, you can also print them in the form of a list form, as in a linear format. So to do that, if I come to the item here, I can put a comma, and I'll put the word end, then put equal. If I want, I can put comma between each item. So I can just put this here like this. So it will print them with the brackets. With a comma that's separating them. So let's run this one. Meanwhile, let me just take this out. I want you to see what I'm talking about. So I'll just do this. So it has laptop, desktop, tablet, phone. Okay, so let's put this one back and let's run it again. So you have laptop, so lap, desktop, desk, tablet. So this is how to run the first syntax without the range. Okay, so let's go back and see what we have next. Okay, so here we're going to consider using the range syntax. Now the range syntax is divided into two. We have the syntax A and the syntax B. I have named them as syntax A and syntax B. So let's look at this difference. Now the syntax A doesn't have a step. So what I mean by a step is that let's start with the first syntax. For counter in range, okay, for counter in range, here is that we are taking an item from a start point to the end point. So here you are showing when the value will start and when it will stop. However, it will do a -1 of the stop. So if you are doing 1 to 10, that means it will print 1 to 0 for you. And the syntax B also has a step. So you still have your start and your stop. However, how do you want to move with it? So here, if you put the step here, it will start from the 0. So the step will be the first item will be written. If you start from 1 to 10, then it will start from 1. Then it will add 1 to your step. Then move to that result plus the step. That total plus the step. That total plus the step. So it will do that till it gets to the stop. And then finally prints the statement here. So let's look at the table below and see how they are printed out. Now let's say we have range 10. Here we've not included the start point. So in this case, this is the first syntax A. If I say range 10, it means I'm asking it to start from 0 to 10. So it will print from 0 to 9. And remember, it's going to leave the end. So here 10 is considered as the last range. And then we'll have range 1, 11, that one also. Here we've given the start point and the end point. So it's going to be a -1. So it will print 1 to 10. Then we also have range and a step. So 0. So it will start from 0 plus 5. then you continue 5. So you are just doing multiples of 5, and then the reverse order. Here your start point is a higher number and it is decreasing down, so you can decrease it with a step of a negative, so that's to make it decremented. There's another method of decreasing something, and that is what we call the reverse format. We'll be looking at that one very soon. So let's look at some few examples. So we're going to consider project 1 and 2. Under this one, we're going to create a program using the for loop to print the first 10 natural numbers. Okay, so we're going to print the first 10 natural numbers, and then the second one we're going to print the first 10 multiples of 2. So let's go back to our code editor and look at that one. Right, so let's create a new file. So let's do this. We can just use one file and then just continue, so we'll be deleting it whilst going, but I love to do it separately so that we can have that. So just create a new file, and I'll just call this one project 1 and 2. So creating multiples of files isn't a problem. It's just to help you when you are referencing, going back to reference all your files, so that you don't delete them in case you need them to to refresh your mind on how they are done. Alright, so we are going to do this here. We have the first project, and we are to write a program to print the first 10 natural numbers. And we all know that natural numbers are numbers that are more like counting numbers, start from 1 to 0. I mean 1 to infinity. But we are printing only the first 10 natural numbers. So what we're going to do is that we start with a 4. So 4, and then we pick an item. So like I said, we use I to represent the item. So that's the variable there for I in, and this is the keyword here. Then we give the range. And the range, since it is the first 10 natural numbers, we're going to start from 1, and the first 10, then we'll end at 11. Now, why don't we end at 10? The reason is that 11 is not going to be printed. It's going to print from 1 to 10, because like I said, the stop is a 1 less. So it will reduce 1 from this end. It will print from 1 to the 10. Now we can now just say print I. Alright, so let's run this. This time we're going to run, since we've created a new file, and run again. Then we pick project 1 and 2. So it is printing 1, 2, 1. That's 1 to 10, as you can see there. Like I said, you can just use the end to print them in a list format like this. Okay. I'll just put a comma between them, and you can even put space again, so it will be legible for you to see. Alright, so let's really run it again. So we have them here 1 to 10. Alright, so this is the first question, the first program. The second program says that we should write a program to print the first 10 multiples of 2. We're doing multiples of 2. Alright, so as usual, we also do 4. Let me get another variable. So like I told you, variable, we just give any name that will help you recognize what you're doing. For mult in range. So multiples of 2, that is the first 10 multiples of 2. So what we do is, since we're doing multiples of 2, we start from 2. And so when we step by 2, it's going to be 4. So if we are to get 10, it will get to 20. So what we do is that our endpoint should be 21, so that it will be minus 1. And then this is our step. Our step is 2, because we are stepping it by 2. So since we are doing multiples of 2, we start from 2 and we end, because it will give us 2 8 till we get to 20. Now this is the stop point. So for the stop point, what we have to do is that we need to increase it by 1, so that when it is printing it, iterating over it, it will do a 1 less of the stop point. Then now we say print mult. Let's come with our end and with a space. So let's run this again. So this is our first work here. So here we have a 1, 2, 3 to 10. Let me remove the end here so I can see the difference between the two here, since they are all the same. So this was the first one, we're done with it. So here, and now this place we are doing the multiples of the 2. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and all in all. Okay, so that is how we can print it out. Okay, now one thing we can do is if you observe, looks like there is the 2 is joining this line here. It's not a big deal. You can break it down, and then using the slash n to break it down, so that when it is going to print, it will push the 2 down there. You can just start from here, and whatever is coming should be pushed down. Okay, right, so this is how to do that code by printing the multiples of 2. Right, so let's go back and see what we have next. Right, so we're going to look at project 3 and 4. Now under project 3 and 4, we are going to be considering these examples here. We are going to write a program using the for loop to print the first 10 natural numbers in reverse order. So there are two methods that we can do here. The first method, we just do the for in range, then since it's natural numbers in reverse, so we start from 10, and because it's 10 natural numbers, and our end point should be 1. So since it's going to be 1, we are putting 0 here, so that it will do this, it will ignore the 0 and print 1. So it will go from 10 to 1. And we are stepping down by a negative, so we have 10 minus 1 to the 9 minus 1 to the 8 till we get to 1, and then we print that one. The other method is to use the reversed function. Okay, so we use that one here. We can do the naturally incrementing the numbers from 1 to the 11, but however we can do a reversed with our reverse here, so it will do 1 to 10 and print it out for us. And then finally we also look at how to create a multiplication table of a particular number. Okay, alright, so let's go back to our code editor. Once again, I'm going to create a new file so that I can do that one there. So I'm going to call it project 3 and 4. So let me zoom that in again. Right, so first project, write a program to print the first 10 natural numbers in reverse order. So we start with our for rev, I'll call it rev or reverse, for rev in range. So I'm starting from 10 and I'll end at 0, and I'll step it by -1. So I'll print my rev. Let me put end keyword here. Right, so let's print that one. So I'm going to run and run again. So anytime you create a new file, you have to do that, run and run again, so that it will know which file you are running. So you can see that it's printing in the reverse order. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 2, 1. So that is how to create it in the reverse order. Now these things are very important when you are dealing with what do you call it, creating AI tools and mathematical stuff. AI deals with mathematics a lot. It needs to calculate. So within that range, you can use these things and then let the machine compute it in this aspect. Right. So let's quickly look at the other question. The other program is that we are to write a program to print the multiplication table of a particular number. So we can just give a variable there. So in this case of a particular number, what we are going to do is that we are going to use the input function, and the input function is going to let the user input that number and then request for the multiplication table of that number. But we are doing it, let's do multiplication table of maybe 10, okay, a range of 10, okay, so we will do that one within the range of 10, so we just do that one. So let's start. So we start with giving the user the input to do that. So let's say that number, we call it your number, and then we say int. We are dealing with integers, not decimals. So int input, then we give the statement, enter your number. So we do this. So this will prompt the user to input the the number to be computed for the multiplication table. Now what we're going to do is that we start with a 4, because we're going to give it a range so that it will use that range to do the multiplication for us. For I int range, so since we're dealing with 1 to 10, so let's start from 1 to 11. So our range is 1 to 11. We're going to use that one. That is the table that we're going to create from 1 to 11. So now how do we compute this one? We are, let's print, we can just say that we are taking your this one, and multiply it by each item. So that's the I. So we take the number that the person input and multiply by the item. So it is going to, if the person put 4, so it's going to be 4 times 1, and then 4 times 2, 4 times 3, and on and on. So let's run it and see. So we have our first line of code here, and now we're going to input the number 1. So let's get multiplication of 3, press enter. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, so up to 30, so let's start from there. And that is because we are stopping at 10, not 11. Okay, so if you want to make it more readable, you can say, well, you can just say, let's use a string, the multiplication table of your number, comma, put is equal to, or we just say is, let's look at the statement, comma, your number it's going to be your number multiplied by your number. Let me reduce this so we can see what I'm trying to put here. Your number, I'm going to code this one, multiplied by, so your number, comma, multiplied, comma, by I. Okay, so put a comma, then now we now see your number I. So let's see how it's going to read like. Let's take a look at it. So I'm giving a string here, say the multiplication table of the number that you've inputted. So it will print that number for me, and it will print the word is. So your number is, your number, it will print your number again, multiply to print this star here, and then to print this first iteration, and then it will now do the real computation. That is the real computation here. So let's run it again. So it says enter number, let's put 5, So the multiplication table of 5 is 5 times 1. So we could have put equal. So here I can add quote mark equal, and I'll put this here. Okay, so run it again. 6. The multiplication table of 6 is 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. So just to make it more readable, you can do it that way. So this is how to compute multiplication table. Alright, but the main computation is on this one here. Okay, so let me just print that one here. That is the key thing that you are printing out. However, to make it more readable, you can use the string concatenations here, and then it will print it out this way for you. Alright, so let's go back and see what next we have on our projects. So here we're going to look at the fifth and the sixth project. So we're going to write a program to print a number raised to the power another number. Okay, so a number raised to the power another number. Okay, so that is what we're going to do right now. So we're going to do that. So to do that, then the next program we're going to write a for loop to accept 10 numbers and then give us the sum of those numbers. Okay, so it will accept 10 numbers from the user and then give us the sum of that one. Alright, back to our code editor. So I'm creating another file. So let's go in project 5 and 6. Zoom that again. So we start with the first project 5. So we are to write a program to print, let's say, m to the power of n. Okay, so how do we do that? In this case, we will also use the input function here. So first of all, let's put our m. Our m is the number that the user wants to find out. So equal int input. We can say enter your exponent. Oh, sorry, let's say enter your base. Enter your base. So let's go on. Then end. We can also say int input your exponent. So just say enter a number, doesn't matter, enter a number in both. So now we're going to do the for loop here. Okay, so in this case, we will need something called a power of a number, and that is the one that we use to do the computation, or the power of the number. So just like here, saying we should do the power of the number. So we write something called power, that I will evaluate it to 1. I will assign 1 to it. So at the initial stage, our power of the number is just 1. So that's the initial stage. So let's look at the group. So 4. So we'll do for, let's say, count in range 1. Now we put n. Let me put this in and explain it to you. So this number that the person is going to give us, we are giving it as a range. Now remember, if we put the number here, suppose the person enter 5, then if we put 5 here, if we put n here without the plus 1, it is going to reduce the n again by 1. So it means we are not computing what the person has inputted into the system. So what we do is to add 1 to what the person is going to input, so that when we are iterating, it will take off our 1 out by leaving the person's n. So that is what we are doing. That's the n, the stop point. Now, so how do we calculate the power? So we just type power, then you put your multiplication sign here, put your equal sign, and now you put your m. The m is that number that you are going to do. So here we're going to print our final result. So this place, we have to back indent it this way, then we print in a bracket, and we can just print the power here. So let's print the power and see what we have. So since we've created a new file, I'm going to run and run again. So we are doing 5 and 6. So it says base, so that is the number that I'm going to put, and raise to the power this number. So I'm using 5 and I have 1, 0, 2, 4. Let's rerun that again. This is simple, 2 and 3. 2 to the power 3 will give us 8. So let's go on, and I have 8. Now, the reason why our 3 is working is because we decided that we are adding 1 to that end here, so that when it gets to the end point of it, it will consider it as a power. I mean, what do you call it? The actual value. So it will remove the 1 and leave the end there, right? If you want to make it more readable, you can also do it this way. Let me just repeat it down here. Print. You can just say M. So let's give a comma. So the M to the power, I think we can use this symbol here to mean power. So if M is raised to the power the N, then our results, let's put equal, put a comma, then our power will come to be equal to the power. So let's run this and see. So we have 2 and we have 3. So 2 to the power 3 is what? 8. So this is how we can print the power of a number using the for loop code block. Right. Our next program to solve is to write a program to accept 10 numbers and display their sum. Okay, so accept 10 numbers from the user and display their sum. So the user will keep putting the numbers, then after receiving all the numbers, then it will compute their sum for the user. So how do we do this? In this case, since we are accepting something from the user, definitely we need to use the input function again. So we will start by declaring let's say your sum equal. Let's declare it at the first initial stage. We declare it to be 0. Now these type of questions are kind of similar because here we're looking for power, so we just declare it as 1 at the initial stage. In this case, we're dealing with multiplication, so we initially assign 1 to it, but when we are dealing with summation, we initially assign 0 to it. So now we're going to give a range. Okay, so the range is for I in range. So since it's 10 numbers, okay, so we can start from 1 to 11. That is our range. Okay, so 1 to 11. So we're going to use this one to keep repeating. It will keep repeating, iterating these ones by asking the user to input the numbers on and on until we get the final result. So we're not going to say we will not ask the user to input the number. Okay, so let's say your number. So this is where the user will input. So int input, enter your number. So the user will enter the number. Yeah. Now after the user enter the number, we are not going to do the sum. So we've already assigned the sum to be 0. So we now say your sum plus equal. So it's just accumulation. So when you want to do accumulation of figures, you do that. It is going to be accumulation of your number that you've entered in the system, right? And then finally, we can indent it backwards and print the sum. So print your sum. So we print it. So when you indent it, you are getting out of these conditions here so that you can get the final result backwards here. So let's run this and see. So our first issue, we are just going to do 3 and then to the power 4 to get it also. Now we are done with this part. That was our first example. Now let's come to this place. It's asking us to enter your number. Enter your number. So let's say the first number we went with is 1. Our second number is 2. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th, because we are to input 10 numbers. So the summation is being done. So when we get to the end part, we'll see our final result. So then press enter, and this 55. So it means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 will give us 55. Okay, so why does it keep asking us to enter the number, enter the number, enter the number? The reason is that we have given an iteration here. So after it's going, this one is going to be repeated this couple of times. Okay, alright, so it's keep asking this so that you get the numbers as it is printed. Alright, so this is how to print it out and do the summation. Alright, so let's look at our next project to solve. Okay, so now this is our 7th project. Here we're going to write a program using the for loop to display factors of a number. Alright, let's get back to our code editor and look at how to do that one. So here we created another project, another file again, and that file we're going to work project 7. So we have to write a program to print to find out the factor of a number, or to print the factor of a number. So what we're going to do is we have to allow the user to input the factor. Okay, so we say your number equal int input, enter your number. So the user will enter the number, and now we are dealing with factor. So let's declare factor as 1 here. Remember, when we deal with factor or product of a number, multiplication or power of a number, we assign it to 1 as the initial assignment by you. However, when we are dealing with summation, we assign it to 0. Right, so let's look at the range. For I in range, so the person has inputted a number, so we say your number plus 1, so that we don't spoil what the person has inputted into the system. So if it is 4, we add 1 to it, so that when it is iterating, it gets rid of the 1, and then our 4 is intact to be worked on. So now to get the factor, what we're going to do is that we're going to let the user so we come here, put factor, and then we multiply equal, then we are multiplying it by the iteration. So we come out here and print this. So let's print factor. So let's run and run again. So we are running process. So let's enter the number. Let's say 5. So the factor 5 is a factor of what, 120 here, as you can see there. We can also do this to look much more readable. So we can say print factor. Let's see. Yeah, factor then is a factor of, we'll see the number that you input. Your number is a factor of what do you call it, factor. so your number we printed is a factor of that one. So that is how we can do it. So let's print this one. Let's say 4. So 4 is a factor of 24. So this is how you can use iterate over print the factor of a number. Alright, so let's go back and see what we have next. So we are done with the first syntax. We are looking at the second syntax of the for loop. Now this syntax involves the else statement. So we can have for counter variable in the collection, then we have a statement, then we can have an else statement that follows it. Now here, the collection may be a list. It can be a string or a tuple. We'll be looking at tuples to a list too. And then the else statement will be executed only when the for loop completes all its iteration. So here, the else loop will work. You know, with the if conditions, when you are doing with the else, if the if doesn't work, if the if is false, then the else would work. However, with the for loop, it works. The statement can be true, and it will only let the else statement work when the iteration for the loop is done. Okay. So the else statement will execute only when the for loop completes all its iteration. If the for loop terminates in between, the else statement will not execute. So else loop, although it depends on that one, it doesn't depend on whether it is true or false. It only works if it finished working on it. The counter variable is a variable that takes a new value from the range each time a loop is executed, as we've done in our other examples that we solved out. Now we're going to consider these examples, and then that will be when we can use this second syntax here. Right. So we're going to look at how to print out. We're going to write the program to print with strings. Okay, let's check the strings first. Then we did this one. This is the first one that we did, and then we also look at how to use the create a program to print multiples of 2. In this case, we'll be using the else statement. Quite simple. So let's go back to our code editor. So I'm going to create another file and just call it syntax2. Very simple. Syntax2. Right. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to write a program to print multiples of 2 with the else statement. Okay, so we're going to add the else statement to this one. So first of all, we have to let the user here we don't need the user to input any value for it to be done. You can just get multiples of 2 there. So we just did this one in our previous example. So we just look for count in the range. So multiples of 2, 21, and we step 2. So this is how we're going to step. So we have 2, 2, and then we step 2. So we can now say print. We are going to print the count. Let's put our end here. Now, then we can put else here. Else print. Maybe let's just put a statement here. All iterations are perfect. So let's run this one. So I'm going to run and then run again. So syntax 2. So we see it has printed all of that one here, and when it is done, the else statement comes down there. So basically, this is how the else statement is used in this for loop. Okay, we have other ways of using it. We can even have if statement within the else loop, but that will be another topic for another day. So that is it. Let's quickly look at the next thing we have on our project. Now we're going to look at what we call the jumping statement in Python. Now Python offers two jump statements to be used within loop to jump off loop at iterations. So they are break and continue statements. They are used to alter the flow of control in a loop. So they are going to be used to alter the flow, how it flows, either to stop or either to jump something and print the rest. So we're going to look at that. So let's consider the first one. We're going to deal with the break statement. The break statement enables a program to skip over a part of the code. This statement terminates the current loop and resumes execution at the statement immediately after the body of the loop. So with the break statement, whilst we are looping through, it will jump over. It will get to a stage that it will stop without continuing to print. So it breaks or stops iteration at a particular point within a loop. Thus, it breaks out of the loop. So it will break out of the loop that we have there. Let's look at the example that we have there. We're going to create simple. Let's look at the syntax. Okay. So here we have the for loop syntax. So for var, the variable in the sequence, then we can put a statement here, and now we will bring an if statement. So if this condition is satisfied, the iteration will work, then it will break, and we can print a couple of statements under that one. So let's get to the example. I think that will help us understand it better. So we are going to write a program to print natural numbers between 1 and 20 and break the loop when the item is 13. So when it gets to 13, it will stop printing. Okay, so we're going to do that one between 1 and 13, and when it gets there, it will break. Then the next program, we're going to look at how to print colors from a list of colors, but stop when the color is a particular color, then it will break. All right, so let's go back to our code editor. So we're going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this one break, or for loop break. Right, so our first program is to write a program to print natural numbers from 1 to 20 and breaks if the number is 13. There's this one here. So what we are saying is that it will stop if the number is 13. I hope we can see that one. Let me zoom that out again. Right, so let's go back. Let's go on to the code now. So it's just as we've done already. We say for, let me use just x in range. So let me get the range of 1. Since we are doing 1 to 20, so I'll do 21. Okay. So a range of, since the numbers are 1 to 20, so we'll do it 1 to 21. So for x in range x, now we're going to put a condition here. So we're going to say, what do you call it? If x is, it will continue iterating, but we're putting the condition. If x is exactly 13, because that's the condition, we want it to break. This is how you do it. Okay, then let's indent it back, and we can bring our statement here, and we can print the x for ourselves here. So if it is going to print the values for us, but when it gets to 13, it will stop printing. So let's run, and then run again. So we are doing for loop break. So there we go. It starts on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it stops. If you want, let's print all the items. Print X first so that we see what they are. So this is all the X1. Okay, this one should be separated. So let me just do it this way so you can see it clearer. Let me use the end. So let's print this out so we can see the values. You're supposed to print all of them up to 20, but because we said it should stop here, that's why it is stopping over there. Okay, so this is how to use the break, what you call it, jump statement in the for loop. Our next example is to write a program to print lists of colors and stop printing if the color is, let's say, orange. So it will stop printing if the color is orange. So first of all, we're going to print out a list of colors. So we can just say list of colors, and we just put colors. So this is how we do list. So to do list, we put the bracket and then we just put the colors there. So I can just say red, yellow, green, brown, orange, purple, black. So we can stop at this place. Okay. So these are the list of colors that we've displayed here. So now we're going to see how it's going to look now. So first of all, let's get our look for color in lists of colors. Since it's items, this one we don't have that range to be done here. We are not dealing with the range, so we already have them listed up here. These are a list of items. So we say for color in colors, if color, that is if one of the color, okay, is equal to orange, then we stop here, then we can break. After we break, so else we print color. We print the we are printing the color. So to print the colors for you. Right, so let's run this one. First one, so we went from red, yellow, green, brown. So we got to brown, and the color is actually orange here, so it stops, it breaks from there. These ones were not printed for us, as you can see down there. So this is how to use a break statement in for loop. All right, now we're going to consider the opposite of the break statement, which is the continuous statement. In this case, it's a bit different from the break statement. Whereas the break statement breaks and then the rest of the items within the loop is not printed, the continuous statement will actually stop somewhere and take out the condition. However, it will print the rest. So it will just take out that condition that is between and then continue the rest. So the continuous statement skips the rest of the loop statement and execute the next iteration of the loop. Okay. This statement executes the next iteration by updating the loop variable with the next value in the sequence. To skip an iteration at a particular item or value, we use the continue function. So if you want to skip something within, so let's look at the example. So this is how the syntax goes. It's just the same thing, syntax, sorry. this should be break here, continue here. It's the same syntax as the what do you call it, the break syntax. So let's look at the example on the coded. So I'm just going to create a new file here, and this one we call it for loop continue. So let's do that one. So we're using the same examples to print list of numbers from 1 to 21, and then when it gets to 13 it will skip that and print the rest. So we're doing the same thing. So we say for I in range of 1 to 21, because we are doing 1 to 20. Now if I is equals to 13, we will say continue, else print I. So just like how we did in the break statement. So let's see the difference here. Let me run this, run and run again. Okay, so here it prints out 1, and when we go to 13 is not printed, but the rest are printed. So it's just like the opposite of the break statement. Okay, so this one, it will continue printing it, however this condition here that is set up will not be printed for us. Let's try that on the color example that we just did. So we say colors, let's say colors equals, that will be a list. So red, yellow, green, brown, orange, black, purple. Okay. Let's say indigo. Okay, so just print this list here. Now we now say for color in colors. If color is the same as, then we code this. Let's say brown. Continue. Else print color. So let's run this. So here we have red, yellow, green, and we are dealing with brown. So brown comes before orange, and now it just skipped the brown and started from orange to the last one. So this is how to use the jump statement in for loop. All right, so basically this is what we are going to consider in this video. If you have any comments, you can drop them below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. On this note, I say goodbye, take care and stay safe. Bye for now.